better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better not go.
Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where I'm going to talk about what it means to be a great sports sales leader and a great sports sales rep in 2026. So I'm going to take a bit that we kick off our on-site trainings with, where we really set the stage of what it means to be a seller in 2026. And we touch on what it used to be, 10, 15 years ago, and then what it looks like today to win as a sales leader and as a sales rep. So the three areas that we really like to hit on and paint the picture for people is the customer journey and their expectations. It's changing, so we have to be adaptable. For sellers, there's more expectations for sellers, so they're expected to be full menu, they're expected to provide insights and provide value. I like to say, what can you provide that ChatGPT can't? So that's the second thing. And the third is, how do you use GenAI to just be more efficient and effective and to do those first two things more effectively. So we'll touch on that. And at the end of the show, you'll have some good takeaways that could help you be an amazing sports sales leader and a sports sales rep here in 2026. So let's jump into it. So what it used to be. There used to be, as a seller, when you were reaching out to a business and you actually got a meeting with the business, there wasn't a lot of information for them. So they came, somewhat unprepared to the meeting. So you got to hold back all the information. So the value that you provided as a seller was all the information, pricing, opportunities, locations, everything like that. So they had to come to you and speak to you to do that. Now you don't have to. The sports sales world is more prevalent. So they've been talking to reps for years now, versus maybe 10, 15 years ago, where that was somewhat of a newer philosophy of going outbound and being proactive. And like I said, you can go to ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or just do your own Google research and find a lot of the information. A lot of teams have gotten smarter. They made it easier for buyers or potential buyers so they don't gate everything and create friction. They've made that more accessible. So now people are showing up more informed to your meetings. So the value you provide isn't that I have this information and you have to come to me. So you have to know the information that they know and be able to speak intelligently about their business. You have to come and show up prepared to the meeting. We'll touch on that here in a little bit. There used to be one decision maker. You get to one person, they could sign it off, even if they were a director or VP, or the CEO could just make a decision. Now there's buying committees and there's teams. So there's not just one person you work through. You have to learn how to navigate and work with multiple decision makers within an account and within an organization. You could just sell on benefits. You had a new stadium open, a new premium space open, or just excitement around the team. Like, you could just sell on that. And this is going to be the best seat for you. And, it comes with these amenities. And that was like something novel back in the day, where now it's got to be about ROI. Companies aren't buying tickets just because, the CEO is a big fan of the team. If they are, it's going to be more for personal use. They're not buying because, this is just a wow opportunity. They have to be able to tie that back to something that's going to help drive business results and impact their business. We have to be able to articulate that and tell an ROI story, where in the past we can kind of get by on just, hey, this is a cool space. Isn't this something you want to check out? We have to be knowledgeable now about what's their average client worth, what is their average conversion rate, and how do we tell an ROI story that they could take back to their finance team or their CFO. And we used to be able to get by just on team performance, and some teams still can, but for the most part, like I said, it's got to be a bigger business case. It can't just be, as a rep, you could just sell to a bunch of fans and get to your numbers. Like, goals are going up. Premium is the thing now in sports. A lot of people are willing to pay more for a premium product and a premium experience. So if all you're calling is B2C buyers who have limited discretionary income and they're very tight on that and they'll just buy when they want to, you have to be able to talk to the people with the means and the ability and the resources to purchase suites, suite leases, premium clubs, $100,000 plus purchases. And that's just a different sales motion than maybe we were used to, back in the day, where we could just talk to fans and it was just a volume game at a very affordable price. As companies or sports teams look to really grow, and my mom likes this word, as we look to scale, their business, we have to be able to sell a premium product and talk to high-end customers and have more of a strategic business conversation. So a lot's changed. And if we're still running the same playbook we did even a couple years ago into 2026, you're not going to be able to get to the opportunities that you could. And you're going to be a lot more exposed because there's a lot more. I'm noticing a lot more executives that are coming from out of sports with a more business mindset versus just a sports mindset are coming to run these organizations. So when they come and they look at their business operations and their business development teams and everything like that, they're used to, very structured processes and very knowledgeable analytics teams and revenue operations teams who are doing things smart, effectively, and efficiently. And if we're going off gut feel, or this is how we've sold just sports tickets back in the day, those leaders are going to start to get removed and replaced with more strategic thinkers, more analytical people, more people with that strategic background who are now starting to be heads of ticketing and running sales and business operations and revenue operations and things like that, because that is what they're looking for. They're looking for people that have that skill set, have that mindset, that strategic perspective. And maybe they weren't the top sales leader, but they could hire people to coach and train and make sure that the system is running efficiently and set up the processes. But they're strategic thinkers who are looking at the business from an analytical perspective and looking to drive revenue long term. So a lot is changing, and I see the best leaders, they're adapting with that too. So it's not that, we're all stuck in the old ways. Like the best ones, like they're evolving, they're adapting, they're tapping into AI, they're using more data and analytics, they're challenging themselves and looking to learn themselves on how they can grow and how they can stretch. So those are the ones that are going to set themselves apart. And then if you're coming in new or you're a up and coming leader, like those are things we want to be aware of and make sure you're aligning with the right type of leaders and the right organizations who are doing things that are going to set up for sustainable long-term success, and not still running old playbooks where you're going to learn best practices or that used to be and learn playbooks that aren't going to help you in 2026 and beyond. So as it relates to the customer journey, like I talked about, people are buyers are willing to pay more for a premium, whether that's a premium area, a premium experience. The data shows that 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a premium customer experience. So what I talk a lot about as it relates to that is, as a seller, how are you showing up for meetings? How are you prepping for meetings? How are you coming in and providing insights? And how quickly are you following up? There's so many reps that don't follow up on quality leads in a timely manner, or they say they'll get back to them in a certain day, and then 2-3 days later, they still haven't gotten back to them, or still going with just generic messaging and thinking that's going to land and resonate with people. They're trying to run businesses, and you need to be personalized and tailored to them. So the more that you could show up as a strategic advisor, someone that they see provides value, the better. For me, I'm getting back into business development, some of the clients that I work with, and it's refreshing because now I come with a different perspective, running my own business, working with different CEOs and executives, being in leadership roles over the years, where when I was a sales rep starting out, like I had very little business acumen. Now I could just have a conversation about business. I don't have this stress and this pressure to, like, all right, I gotta say this when they give me this objection. I have this perfect rebuttal. We can just have dialogue back and forth because we're two business executives just talking about the business, and we may be a fit, we may not be a fit. And I see more of that needed. So more individual contributors, more high level executives who are pulling themselves out of being in meetings and behind spreadsheets and screens all day, actually getting into the conversation, especially for the bigger deals. Obviously, you can't be making cold calls all day long as an executive, but when it comes to the point where someone's looking at a 6-7 figure deal for their business, and you can come in and just have a conversation with them, or bring in one of your C-level executives that can just talk from a business to business perspective, like that's the value people are willing to pay a premium for, because they see that, all right, this organization, these executives, they care, like they're involved, they're engaged. Like if this is the service I'm getting on the front end, this imagine what I'll get on the back end, and we're going to work together and align with them to make sure that they achieve success. Like that is what they're expecting. They don't need someone who's just going to be able to tell them ticket pricing and locations. They could find that on their own. A lot of teams are self-serving that, where you can just go online and just buy. So as a salesperson or as a sales leader, if that is how people are buying now, how are we adapting and adjusting to make ourselves relevant and valuable so that we create opportunities for ourselves? We don't get extinct. We don't get phased out because, that's what we used to do in the past. Like this is what it looks like in the future. So people are willing to pay more. We need to align with where the customer's at. They want to self-serve. They want to get their own information. So then what can we provide that's, something they can't find on ChatGPT, like I said before. So things that we can come with insights. We can provide relevant case studies and testimonials of other clients that we work with. So it's important that we have these conversations with our clients. We have success metrics so that we know that, all right, this is what success looks like in their business, and we're helping them achieve that. And so when the person's coming to you from a prospect standpoint, you can say, I work with other clients like you, and here's what they're seeing. That's going to go way further than you just pitching your product or being very salesy throughout the sales process. Like that puts up a red flag for people. But if you could show and tell how you're working with other people, and you have these case studies, you have these testimonials, you have these use cases, that's going to go a lot further, and they're going to trust you so much more through the process and willing to do business with you. The other thing is, making sure that we're aligning to customer objectives. So talked about, we can't just talk about tickets, we can't just talk about pricing, but what are their top priorities in their business? And that's one thing. And a lot of this like kind of kick off to the training all sets up for how we actually run the sales process. So in the sales process, when you're doing discovery, you want to understand what their top priorities are over the next 2 quarters, over the next 6 months, over the next year, whatever it may be. And we want to align to that, because if we're not in the top 2 to 3 priorities, like this isn't something that's going to get pushed through or be prioritized within their office internally. And so we'll go out with these deals and we'll pitch these products and put together these proposals. And we assume that things are good because they didn't tell us no. But if it's not a top priority, then we're not going to eventually get the sale. So we need to make sure that we understand what their priorities are and how do we align and build our business case and build a proposal to align with those top priorities. Is it acquiring new clients for the next 3 to 6 months? Is it, hey, we've had a lot of attrition, competition is tough out there, and we're losing a lot of our clients to the competition. So now their focus is they want to make sure they retain their customers. How do we build a plan and tell a story in our proposal that helps them do that, because that's their top priority? Or we're losing a lot of our talent to our internal employees to our competition. How do we make sure that their people are happy and we help lower that employee turnover that they're having? So understanding what those priorities are and not just pitching our product and saying we work with businesses, like that is something that we need to show up informed and ready to go as salespeople, to make sure that we're aligning to how businesses make decisions. And then the last thing I talked about, there's no longer just a sole decision maker. There's buying teams. There's the finance team. There's the sales reps that may be using the tickets that you're selling. There's the marketing team that may be using tickets for events. And if we're just working with one person, we need to understand what everyone else is thinking. So we need to have multiple meetings and have separate conversations with different people. So we have to be adaptable as salespeople to meet this new way that people are buying and the way that they work collaboratively, and they're looking at profitability and making sure that this makes sense from a business standpoint, not just sports and like this is fun and we'll get tickets and we'll get a suite and everything like that. You'll make some sales like that because people will come and already have interest. But when we're going out and we're looking to go acquire a new business and looking to find new opportunities, like we have to be able to tell that story and understand, how do they make decisions internally and be able to navigate. And if you're a brand new rep, it's going to be very difficult for you. And if your leaders haven't gone through that, it's going to be difficult for them to coach you. So those are things we need to continue to work on and continue to develop, and skills that we focus on in our training, so that how to have these different conversations with different types of personas within an account, within a business that you're looking to sell. So that's making sure you align to just the evolving customer journey. And then as a seller, we have to be full menu. We have to be, there's just more that's expected of us. And we used to be very siloed teams. Like you only sold groups, you only sold season tickets, you only serviced accounts. Like that's slowly starting to become more, and this is something I had predicted or I expected to happen last year, just as sales teams shrink, as where the salesperson's value is really impacted starts to get really honed in. Like you have to be able to talk about all products. You have to be able to multi-thread within an account, so be able to spiderweb and talk to other personas within the account and sell other products. You can't just sell your group or just sell season tickets. You have to be able, especially with the business account, be able to service them well. And more reps on the new sales side are keeping accounts and servicing them, because there's just greater upsell opportunity from getting someone in once and then looking to grow that and keeping that relationship going. there's opportunities to sell to other people within the account. So there's just more cross-sell opportunities. So we just have to be well versed in everything that it is that we sell and be able to have intelligent conversations outside of our area of expertise. It's tickets, it's sponsorships, it's events, whatever it may be. We have to be able to talk intelligently about all those and sell those and be knowledgeable about all of those products, because now we get seen as a consultant, a strategic advisor. Like that is what, the business client is looking for, someone who can make sure that they understand their business, and they're going to be someone that could sit side by side with them in their business to help them achieve their goals. Like that's what they're willing to pay for. That's where you unlock more budget versus just a transactional ticket sale. And that's where you start to see, used to be making $2,000, $5,000 sales now turn into 10, 15, $100,000 sales, because you're really making sure that you align to success metrics and you guys are on the same page there. So the last thing I would say, as a salesperson, as you're adapting here in 2026, is finding ways to differentiate from the competition. So other sellers, making sure that your outreach is more personalized, making sure that it's relevant to the persona that you're talking to. So understanding if I'm talking to a chief marketing officer versus a VP of sales versus a CFO, what's the different pain points that they go through, and how do I make sure that I personalize my messaging to them, so when they see it and they read it, they're like, oh, this person gets it. They're talking to me. They work with people like me. So that's one, making sure that you're personalized with your messaging and customizing it to the persona. The other thing is using more video. So it's something that I've talked a lot about on LinkedIn. You can use video. You can record yourself in the stadium or in the arena or in the ballpark. Just do a video and text it to somebody. It just humanizes the process. We all are on video. You all are watching this on video. We go on Instagram, we go on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Everything is just more video now. So how do you stand out from someone who's just sending blunt, boring, generic emails to now they get to see who you are? They're like, oh, like this, like you humanize the process. They can relate to you more. Like those are big opportunities that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of. So that's another one. LinkedIn, a lot more reps are starting to get more active on LinkedIn, which is great to see. And a lot more business people are starting to get on LinkedIn. I've heard a podcast today where they said that, 60-year-old parent of one of these executives is now on LinkedIn and liking their comments. And another person on that same podcast, who was like a roundtable discussion, said, my 80-year-old parents are on LinkedIn. And so, we used to be like, oh, well, maybe our buyers aren't on LinkedIn, just more people are on it. Like social media is just more of a thing. So more people are starting to be on LinkedIn. And so we need to have a presence there and, make sure that we're showing up. And that's a way that we can cut through the noise and differentiate from other sellers out there who aren't as present or active on LinkedIn. And then I talk a lot about GenAI, so I'll keep this brief, but by using ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, whatever it may be, it allows you to do those other things just more effectively and more efficiently. So it allows you to show up more educated. It allows you to do more prep for your meetings. It allows you to overcome some objections that in an intelligent way that we typically get. The biggest objections that we get within sports are too many games and don't see the value or price or budget or something like that, which really to me is just you don't see the ROI. Now with Gen AI, what you could do is you could have implementation plan builder, and we have a prompt that we give teams, and it literally walks through like, all right, break out how many games could be used for each type of use case, look at their schedule, pick which games should go to which type of clients or which type of prospects, lay it out and give this to and put this in a format that we could deliver to our prospect on, here's exactly how you use the tickets. So when they say, we don't know how we're going to use the tickets, that's too many games, we'll never be able to use them, you can be like, boom, here's your implementation plan. And you don't have to spend hours building it. You could do that in minutes with ChatGPT. ROI builder. One thing that we get a lot of is like, well, I don't see the value. I don't know how this is going to drive business for us. Answer a prompt of like 10 questions, and it can say, based on what they're looking to spend and what their average conversion rate and what an average client is to them, here's a conservative ROI that you could give to your prospect or your potential client as to what they can expect that they can take to their CFO. And so those are different use cases that we touch on. One that you'll hear me talk a lot about here in 2026, the tool we built called Journey, where it comes pre-built as an AI assistant for salespeople. and we'll customize it towards different teams or different sales teams or companies, whatever it may be, so that it's knowledgeable about your training docs, your playbooks, your brand voice, everything like that. So you can trust that you have a consistent message across your sales team. And when it asks me prepare an email or put together this proposal, it's what you as leaders want it to be. And so you could make your whole sales team perform like your best sales rep if you take those best practices and train the tool to sound like your best salesperson. So super excited about that. Something that we'll bring to teams and just bring to market here in 2026. But again, GenAI just allows you to do all those things more better, more effectively, and give you more time back so you can spend more time being a salesperson, having conversations, closing deals, and looking for ways to grow your business. So, like I talked about, every episode, I want to talk about something that stood out to me recently. And so I was on LinkedIn and I saw someone I knew in the banking industry talking about their use case in banking for AI. And I know that there's use cases outside of sports, but like I just live so much in the bubble of like sports reps and like maybe a little bit like tech because I study a lot of like tech companies on how they go through best practices. But even here in like the banking industry, they're looking at ways that here's how we use AI to streamline our processes. So everyone's using it. It's not a differentiator now to know that ChatGPT exists. Now it's how do you use it? How do you prompt it? How do you have tools that help you work more efficiently and standardize your messaging so that the stat is reps spend less than 30% of their times actually working with their prospects and clients. Like how do you get that time back so you can spend more time doing that? So we're still early. There's still a lot of ways this can go and a lot with assistants and agents and automation, but it's just cool to see that more people are adopting it. But as they do, it's not your differentiating anymore that you know how to use ChatGPT to write a better email. You now need to use it to automate your processes and give you more time back and standardize your messaging and playbook so that you could be more effective. The other thing I like to do is shout someone out. So I want to shout out the Round Rock Express. I'm actually going to go back out there again here in a few weeks. So one of the first clients we worked with, one of our favorite clients there, um, their director of sales I was talking to, just prepping for our training session here in a couple weeks. And we had touched on briefly, I had brought up like ways, other opportunities outside of our training that they could look to just increase their sales and be more effective. And one of the things we talked about was just pipeline management, how they manage their deals through the CRM process and, holding themselves more accountable. And he's like, hey, and I'm not going to take credit for this. He's like, hey, thank you for, sharing that because we were more intentional about managing our pipeline. We were actually able to hit our goal this year because deals didn't fall through the cracks or slip through the cracks. It's actually like a sticky note we all have is like making sure things don't slip through the cracks. And again, I'm glad that we had that conversation, but I just suggested it. Kudos to them for taking that a step further and standardizing that and making that something that they were intentional about in their process. So it seems very simple, making sure that your pipeline stages are updated and you're doing a great job, cleaning out your pipeline, talking to your reps about the pipeline, but it's something that just gets put on the back burner when you have all these other things happening, games are coming up, this on sales happening, like to take the intentional time and create the space to really have that on a consistent basis. There's a ton of returns, and obviously they saw huge success from it allowed them to hit their goal by doing that. So in closing, big things to focus on in 2026. Make sure you're aligning with the customer expectations and the buyer expectations because it's just changing, and the way they consume information and the way what they expect out of salespeople now has changed from what it used to be, where we could give information. Now we have to be educated and be a strategic advisor for them. And then as a sales rep, we have to be more well versed in all different types of products, be more full menu, and not so specialized so we can adapt to any situation and find opportunities to grow and expand the revenue that from the accounts that we're working with. And then obviously just using Gen AI to speed that process up, standardize it, and be more effective and efficient. So if you like this, click like on the video, share this with someone in your network that you think could see value in this, subscribe to the page so you get updates as I put out new episodes each week. And the last thing, like I always say, like I tell my daughters every morning when I drop them off at school, go be awesome today. and I'll see you next week with another
That's
video.
nothing, that's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go.